What's going on everyone, TomGorian back again with this third video for the F1 2020 wishlist. This is the series where I talk about the F1 2020 game and talk about what I would want to see for the next installment of the F1 game franchise. Today, we're going to go into arguably the biggest mode of the game, which is the career mode. I feel with F1 2019, they did a good job in making another step forward as to bringing the experience of being an F1 driver and making the experience more realistic with F2 and bringing in Devin Butler and Lucas Weber. It felt good to be able to do something apart from just automatically getting a drive in Formula 1 and actually working your way up from Formula 1 into F2 and driving the F2 cars. It just felt really refreshing, but I do feel that there was a couple of other things that they missed out on, to the point where it was very similar towards the F1 2018 career mode, where you just did practice, race, answer question, and then you repeated again until the season was over, plus with the upgrade system. And there are a couple of things that F1 2019 doesn't do right in the career mode, and I will get to that later on in this video. But if you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button. Please share to Codemasters, Lee Mather, and anyone else who works on the career mode side of the F1 games, and get this video to 30 likes if you do agree with these features. So without further ado and without babbling on, let's talk F1 2020 career mode. So for this video, I'm going to go in chronological order as far as an F1 driver career, and before we enter F2 we have to customize our driver, and there's still a lot of things that I would like to see in F1 2020. So first off, custom faces. That's the first one that I want. It's about time that you give us the ability to customize our face, nose width, face length, face width, eyes height, ear length, just those types of things. It's a normality in other sports games. You see it in FIFA, you see it in NBA. Why can't we do it in F1 2020? Hopefully we can. The ability to choose your height and your weight, because that does affect a car, your height and your weight. Look at Nico Hülkenberg and Esteban Ocon. They're tall drivers. Hair color, eye color, that's a no-brainer. Your voice. Now, in my opinion, I think this is a very good idea, because a lot of people play the F1 game. A lot of people from different countries, they might not speak the English language. So the ability to choose your voice, and I'm saying around about 8 to 15 different voices between white and black, male and female, and just give us different voices, because I want to hear our drivers speak when it comes to press conferences and also interviews and also other interactions with other drivers. So having the ability to choose our voice would be massive. Animations, as far as animations, winning animations and also podium celebrations. Can we get a choice of how many animations that we can have at the start of the game when we customize our driver? So we know what to expect if we do win a race or get in the podium, and it would be a nice feature for our driver to have a chosen animation for a podium or a win. And finally, helmet and glove customization. It's about time. In F1 2019, the helmets that you choose are very basic and very dull compared to the actual other drivers. So I'm saying this, I would like helmet customization to customize the patterns on the helmet, to actually have your own number and sponsors. So when you're choosing your driver academy, so let's say you choose the Mercedes driver academy and you choose a Racing Point to go into F1, you will acquire the Racing Point sponsor, so BWT and all these other sponsors on your helmet, and you get to choose where you pick the sponsors on your helmet. And also glove customization. And when I say glove customization, I mean just changing the colors of your gloves. In my opinion, I would like to see a full-on black and blue Mercedes gloves. For Red Bull, maybe white. Renault as well, maybe an actual yellow glove. So it would be nice to see, just customization for the helmets and the gloves, to the point where you can choose your own colors, you can choose your own patterns. And I just think adding that customization would actually make F1 2020 a much more deeper experience than previous games. I'm going to try and get this video done in under 20 minutes so I don't really ramble on, but after you create your driver, you're in F2. So in F2 we got introduced to Devin Butler and Lucas Weber in the infamous cutscene that you've all seen, and we got placed in 3 scenarios. A lot of other gamers complain about the lack of F2 in the career mode. So for this first idea, I'd say an extended story or a length option. So what I mean by that is you get to actually choose how many races or scenarios you want to do. So if you want an actual whole season, you can choose between 3 races, 6 races, 9 races, or the whole championship of F2 to really get that feel of going through F2 and doing these races and then eventually earning your way into Formula 1. I think that would be a great idea. More cutscenes, more characters for F2. I don't know what the hell's going to happen with Lucas Weber and Devin Butler. I don't know if they're going to return. I'm guessing so. But if we're going to get new characters, can we get new race engineers? New race engineers. And this is what I've also got as my other idea. Custom race engineers. So if we can't customize our own race engineer, can we pick one out of a template? So maybe, let's say 11 or 10 different race engineers, different, like maybe a female engineer, that would be nice. And then you get to choose their voice. I think that would be a sick idea, considering that then your customized race engineer is your race engineer throughout the entire game. And I think that'd be really useful instead of listening to Jeff throughout the entire career mode, because Jeff, he brings nothing, and it's about time that we have someone new as our race engineer. So after you've won the F2 championship, you then get promoted into Formula 1. In F1 2019 there was a cutscene with you and Emma, your agent, where you, thanks to your results in F2, got the chance to choose which car or team you wanted to drive for in F1, regarding of your reputation and how interested they are in you. So here's what I've got, some couple of ideas for the F1 side of things. First of all, when you select a team for your first team in the career mode, can we have an actual team intro? So remember the F1 2012 and F1 2013 career modes, so where you'd sign for a new team and then you get this 5, 10, 15 second different cutscene and this intro, and it looks so epic and so dramatic, and it had this music in the background. If we can get something like that, maybe with, you know, some narrator explaining the history of the team, because obviously not a lot of new people understand Formula 1 or understand the teams, so they might be interested in listening to the history of a Williams or a Renault or a Ferrari. But if we can get something like a team intro, that would be really sick. This is probably the biggest feature that I would want: a full pre-season test at a res. Now I know that they no longer do, you know, pre-season testing at a res. It's usually done in Catalonia. But if we can get something like a full-on test where we get a couple days, 1, 2, 3 days to get our cars, especially in Season 1, Season 2 and Season 3, when the upgrades, you know, start to really make a difference on our car, that could be very useful as far as understanding our car, maybe changing custom setups to make our car even faster. So the way I would do it is this: you would get this cutscene cinematic in Jerez, and you would have a certain amount of objectives, and these objectives would be like complete 10 laps on the mediums, 20 laps on the hards, set the fastest lap on the medium tyres, you know, set a purple second sector to test a downforce upgrade, and maybe bring in some of the resource point upgrades that you usually do in races. So for example, you know, tyre wear test, ERS management, those types of things, maybe reach a top speed. That would be good. And if you do a certain amount of laps, then maybe you could unlock the res circuit for use in multiplayer and single player, and that would be very, very useful indeed. Another idea that I have for the F1 side of career mode is more cutscenes in F1 with your F2 rivals. So an extended story with Devin Butler, Lucas Weber, maybe new characters in F2, and then you bringing them into F1, and you have more cutscenes and maybe even more interaction with F1 drivers. So maybe Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, maybe bring them in for you know, voice acting or just something like that. And I know that might cost a lot of money, but I think it would bring the immersion and the experience. It would just make it would just make it so much better. As far as practice sessions are concerned, third drivers. So I don't really know. And maybe Esteban Gutierrez is one of them. I don't know who, Jack Aiken maybe, I'm not sure, but just bring third drivers in. Bring third drivers into into the career mode and have them do practice sessions just like you do in real life. So instead of Lewis Hamilton doing, practice FP1 or FP2, maybe it's Esteban Gutierrez, or maybe, Mick Schumacher in the Alfa Romeo or something. So I think with the ability to bring fair drivers into practice, it'll be more refreshing, and plus also you can also replace them with retired drivers such as Kimi Raikkonen, obviously Lewis, Sebastian, and all this sort of stuff with the more seasons that you play. Press conferences, in my opinion, another big feature for F1 2020. I loved press conferences in F1 2010, especially when it was pretty much first person, and you was actually like looking at the press conference media, and you sat down on the table, and I think it's great. You should do it on Thursday like you do in real life, and you treat it like the exact same way. So you would actually be in first person, and you'd walk over to the table, sit down, and then answer questions from the media, 4 or 5 different questions, just like in F1 2010, but it would just be modern day. So maybe with the trees on the sides and just the actual logo with the font and stuff. I think that'd be really good. We need more questions in interviews. I've noticed that Emma asks a lot of questions about Devon Butler and Lucas Weber, but not enough about your race. And in my opinion, we need more questions to answer and more questions to talk about in F1 2020, because the questions that we get as far as practice, qualifying in the race, it's just too it's just too repetitive in my opinion, and it's the same questions every single time. So can we get more questions in F1 2020? A loyalty bonus. This is a very interesting one that I've written down. A loyalty bonus. So for example, if you're doing a Road to Glory with an Alfa Romeo or a Williams, maybe if you stay after one season or the first season, you get a loyalty bonus. So maybe, an extra 50% resource points in performance, maybe of 1 week, less as far as upgrades are concerned. That could help massively. So I think having a loyalty bonus with the same team that you've stayed for after season 1 could really help the player as far as upgrading the car and just having a better time in F1 2020 career mode. Choice of different agents. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a thing, but if it is, I would love it if they did this, because let's face it, we're all getting bored of Emma. I think Emma is starting to be a little bit useless now, and I think if we have a choice to actually pick a different agent, then maybe it could be a very interesting cutscene in F1 2020. Now, I linked this back to NBA 2K14 on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, where you had this cutscene where your agent at the time was your best friend, but there was another agent and he knew what he was doing, and he could get you all these endorsement deals with Adidas and Nike, and he really knew what he was doing, but he was a prick. So you had to make a choice between your best friend and the proper agent to see who you choose as your actual agent. So if we can get something like that where, the game puts Emma's loyalty, at risk, and you have these cutscenes where Emma's talking to you about this other agent, and then you have to make a choice, I think that would be really interesting, and it would make the player just really intrigued as to when that cutscene really is. Here we go. More focus on the other drivers / cutscenes. So if we could have more cutscenes with other drivers, so Daniel Ricciardo, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Antonio Giovinazzi, if we get them voice acted maybe, obviously it might cost some money, of course, and Cody's are not a bigger brand than EA or NBA 2K or any of that, but if they can get some of the drivers to do some voice acting so you can be in the conversations with them, that would actually be really good, especially with Kimi. Can you imagine speaking to Kimi? That would be hilarious. Will Buxton in F1 2020 career mode. I think that is a very, very good choice. But Will Buxton is obviously the official media journalist for Formula 1 who does all the interviews. He's done Paddock Pass, he recaps F1 practice sessions and all this stuff. And I think he's just a great journalist. And I think if he's in the game and you had Will Buxton and Emma as the people answering the questions, it would give it more of a fresher taste to see Will Buxton asking you the questions in press conferences and after and before the race. And then Emma, of course, and I think Will Buxton is probably the best journalist in F1 today. this is the most important one. Buff the AI upgrade speed. In F1 2020, Alfa Romeo has over 1,000 performance points in under 3 seasons. How the AI are so overpowered in their upgrade speed, and I think Codemasters have had a difficult time trying to buff and trying to get the right selection with how OP the AI are when it comes to upgrade speed, to the point where they have the quickest car by 7/10, and there's nothing you can do to stop them, unless if you put it down to a lower difficulty. I've had to literally switch from 106 to 101 just to make Season 3 just more of a watchable, series, because the AI, the Alfa Romeo AI, when it comes to car development, are just so overpowered. Like, Alfa Romeo are like at over 1,000 resource points, and then Ferrari haven't even hit 800 yet. Like, come on, this is BS. Like, Alfa Romeo should not be hitting 1,000 resource points. Anyone shouldn't be hitting 1,000 resource points or 1,000 performance points until Season 5 at least. So, buff the AI upgrade speed to the point where it's acceptable, but at the same time it still gives you a challenge. Not like F1 2019 at all. So, that's that. Different race winning / championship winning celebrations. Can we have a variety of different race winning, championship winning celebrations? Especially, it links back to the creation tab when it mentioned to choose your animations, to choose how you celebrate winning a championship, how you celebrate winning a race. I think it could be a good idea to give us, a choice, or maybe give us different animations every couple of races. That would be sick. The calendar changes. Now, I know what they can do and what they can't do as far as having the calendar change, but don't have it realistic where, Monaco's the first race of the season. Like, no. Have it like how would you do in real life, where maybe Belgium becomes, comes after Italy, or maybe Hungary is before Silverstone, or just switch it around, maybe before, where, Spain is the 3rd race of the season, or, Baku is like the 4th race of the season like it used to be. So if we can get calendar changes for F1 2020, that could be decent. And finally, last but not least, for this career mode video, the ability to retire from the sport. So this would work if you've done enough, if you've won enough championships, won enough races, you could have an option to retire from the sport, and you would press a button to retire from the sport, and then there'll be this cutscene in this press conference where you're announcing that you have retired from Formula 1 after winning all these championships in these races, and then that's it. Because there's no ability to retire in F1 2019 or 2018, and I think the ability to retire in F1 2020 would be the perfect send-off for anyone who's pretty much done playing career mode and doesn't want to play it again. So that is my wish list for F1 2020 career mode. Please share it to Lee, Mather and Cody's. I know we're pretty much late February, early March when this video comes out, and there's still time, but I don't know when F1 2020 is coming out. I'm guessing there's going to be the first trailer in the next 2-3 weeks, so hopefully they can sort this stuff out as far as the career mode is concerned, but this is what I would like to see for F1 2020. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button. 30 likes would be massively appreciated. Subscribe for F1 2019 and soon F1 2020 video content. I'll be making a season predictions video after winter testing is over and before the first practice session in Melbourne, and I'm hoping to cover more of the sport this season as far as race reviews, as far as other stuff is concerned. So thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. Share to Twitter, share to Cody's and Lee Mather. 30 likes and subscribe for more F1 content. My name's TomGorian. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.